Hello students, welcome to lecture 6 of unit 1. Here we will discuss chemiluminescence, bioluminescence, photosensitization reaction, photoelectric effect, the photoelectric cell, and try to look into what is a laser. Chemiluminescence. This is the process of production of light from a chemical reaction. That is, a chemical reaction takes place in which A and B forms AB star. Here AB star is an excited intermediate. This excited intermediate breaks down into product, as well as during this formation of product it releases some of its energy as photons or light. One of the most common examples of compound showing chemiluminescence is luminol. Luminol is a very important component that forensic scientists used for determination of or presence of blood. This is the chemical structure of luminol, and this figure shows how the area that is covered in blood can be shown in as the process of glow in the dark by using luminol. Bioluminescence is chemiluminescence taking place in living organisms. That is, living organisms that produce light due to a chemical reaction going inside them. So some of the most common examples are the firefly and some fungi, jellyfish. The most important chemicals which are responsible for the production of light in bioluminescence is luciferin and luciferase or photoprotein. So luciferin is a compound which actually produces the light. The bioluminescence that we see in living organisms is due to the arrangement of luciferin molecules. What is photosensitization reaction? Reaction to light which is mediated by light absorbing molecule which is not the ultimate target forms the basis of photosensitization reaction. So what does it mean? It means that in photosensitization reaction, we sensitize a molecule which is not the substrate. So the target is not the substrate, but it is another molecule that absorbs the light, and then that molecule further reacts with the substrate to give the product. So photosensitization can involve reactions within cells or tissues, or they can also occur in pure chemical systems. One point to be noted is that photosensitizers, the SenStar, are not consumed during photosensitization reaction, and they return to their original state once the photosensitization reaction is complete. And photosensitizers are photobleached, a chemical reaction in which the absorption of light that produces a different molecular form, and this process typically completes with the photosensitization reaction. This also does not involve or does not absorb any light. One important question is, not all light absorbing molecules are photosensitizers. Why? Because most light absorbing molecules, they acquire or lose energy through a radiationless process. What is radiationless process? It is the internal conversion. But for photosensitizers, the radiationless process, this internal conversion is not efficient. So they transfer an electron to another molecule, or they transfer their energy of excitation to other molecules. What is photoelectric effect? We know the process of ejection of photoelectrons from the surface of a metal with the help of a frequency which is known as a threshold frequency for that metal is known as photoelectric effect. What is threshold frequency? It is the minimum frequency of incident light or radiation that will produce the photoelectric effect. Okay, so the threshold frequency may be different for different metals. Now suppose gamma is the frequency of incident photon and gamma threshold is the threshold frequency. So when frequency of incident photon is less than threshold frequency, then there is no ejection of photoelectron, and we can say photoelectric effect does not take place. When gamma and the threshold frequency, that is the incident of frequency of incident light and threshold frequency are same, then we say photoelectrons are just ejected from the metal surface, and in this the kinetic energy of the electron is 0. When the frequency of incident photon is greater than the threshold frequency, then photoelectrons will come out of the surface and have a sufficient kinetic energy. Now, what are the factors that affect photoelectric effect? The factors are the intensity of radiation, the potential difference between metal plate and collector, and frequency of incident radiation. And here is another relation that is given between energy of the incident photon as well as work function, which is a characteristic of a given metal. So when energy is less than work function, then also no photoelectric effect takes place. It is very similar to this relation as shown in this slide, because energy is ultimately h nu and is dependent on the frequency anyway. So when we can write in terms of energy and work function, so when energy and work function are same, then photoelectric effect just takes place, but kinetic energy of the electrons is 0. And when energy is greater than phi, then photoelectric effect takes place with possession of kinetic energy by the ejected electron. So these are the most important and relevant graphs regarding photoelectric effect. Please go through them one by one and you can understand the process more clearly. Now let us look into the photoelectric cell or photocell or phototube. This is an electronic device, but it works on the principle of photoelectric effect, as you can see in the schematic diagram that is shown. So this cell converts light energy into electrical energy. Okay, so an electron tube with photosensitive cathode emits electron when illuminated, and an anode is used for collecting the emitted electrons. And the voltage between cathode and anode causes no current in darkness, because electrons are not emitted in darkness. But when there is light, the electrons that are attracted to anode, so electrons are excited, and they are attracted to anode and produce a current proportional to the intensity of incident light. Okay, so such kind of tubes are also used in photometry and spectroscopy. Now, what is a laser? Laser is actually an acronym for light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. So this is light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. So that means it amplifies or increases the intensity of light, and as you can see, it produces highly directional light. These are the processes by which the emission takes place. It can be absorption of radiation of light, or spontaneous emission, or stimulated emission. These are the types or the principles on the basis of which lasers work. This is elaborated in the notes given along with this chapter. Please go through them one by one. So let's look at that processes once again. So what is the absorption of radiation of light? In this, the electron absorbs the photon energy. There is an incoming photon and the electron is absorbing the photon energy, and it goes from a lower energy state to a higher energy state during absorption. And after absorption, we can see that the electron is in the higher energy state. So electron jump to the excited state after absorbing photon energy. Okay, so in spontaneous emission, we see that the electron in the higher energy state, that is, it is in the excited state. This is before photon emission. And during photon emission, what happens is the excited state electron releases photon during its transition from the higher energy state to the lower energy state. So a photon is released. In stimulated emission, the electron is in higher energy state, that is, it is in its excited state before photon emission. Okay, so excited state electron absorbs the photon energy. And what happens is, during photons emission during transition, there is the excited electron releases 2 photons during the transition from the higher energy state to the lower energy state. So this defines the 3 processes involved with laser. Please go through them once again. With this, I conclude today's lecture. If you have any doubt, you can contact me. I shall be available then. Thank you for your attention.